Childcare providers have seen their already tenuous businesses stretched even further with reduced enrollment and rising costs. Childcare professionals have been true heroes, working on the front lines to keep kids safe and allow families to work. And families, especially those with young children, have been under immense stress, from meeting basic needs to juggling parenting and work. And so many of you participating in this conference have changed the way you've worked and lived professionally and personally. And you still continue to move on and meet the needs of our youngest children and families. You've worked long nights and in stressful situations because we know, and you know, that our youngest children's development does not take a pause, even during a pandemic. What happens prenatally at age 1, 2, 3, or 4 continues to be the most important time of our lives. Science tells us the brain development in the first 5 years is critical to future success, laying the foundation for success in school, work, and life. The investments we make in these early years for young children pay dividends for years to come. And we know our economy can't work without the support for children and families. That access to affordable, high-quality childcare means parents work effectively, and that childcare can only work with fair pay and support for early educators. We know that early childhood investments can build equity by removing barriers to success, empowering children and families, and inspiring a more just society. So we keep showing up, doing the work that is so important to our future. I am proud to work alongside my colleagues throughout the Smart Start Network and with you and with all of our partners across the country. I hope you will leave this week's conference re-energized to continue that work in your communities. We have a great lineup planned, and I hope you discover new approaches, ideas, and solutions. I know I'm looking forward to doing so. Thursday's keynote with Dr. Ibram X. Kendi will be a powerful discussion on race and racial justice. With Dr. Kendi, we will explore how we in early childhood can adopt anti-racist policies and promote racial equity for the next generation. That conversation will be facilitated by my colleague, Sophia Jackson, our Chief Strategy Officer at Ncpc. And I want to put a plug in for our other featured sessions, which kick off May 13th and will continue each Thursday in May. These panel discussions will explore current issues facing early childhood, challenges in rural communities with early childhood, our policy landscape at both the state and federal levels, and the real need for comprehensive early childhood education, workforce, and compensation strategies. I hope you will join us for those sessions on Thursdays throughout May as well. A special note of thanks to all our workshop presenters this week. Your time, your efforts, and your contributions are greatly appreciated. And thank you as well to our conference sponsors. You are partners as well as friends. We are thankful for your continued support of early childhood and of Smart Start. On a closing note from me, as some of you know, I have had two passions nearly my entire life: early childhood and soccer. Well, I had the opportunity to watch in person the University of New Hampshire-Kentucky game, the NCAA playoff game, yesterday in Greensboro, as my close friend's son plays for the University of New Hampshire. It was great. But as I sat there on the sidelines, and I'll note UNH was losing to Kentucky, I felt less of an urge than usual to yell, "Put me in, coach." I enjoyed the role of cheerleader. And as I get to do this daily, I thought as I drove home from Greensboro, tomorrow again, I get to do this at the Smart Start Conference. What an honor it is to do so, to sing your praises and celebrate all of you. Thank you for everything you do each and every day to move mountains for young children, families, and truly all of society. Now it is my pleasure to introduce the chair of the Ncpc Board of Directors, Charles Bowman. Charles is the Bank of America Market President for Charlotte and North Carolina. He also serves as the Vice Chair of Wealth Management in North Carolina. He's a native North Carolinian and a graduate of both UNC Chapel Hill and Duke. Charles is active in his community, supporting a number of causes in Charlotte and across the state. He understands how important early childhood is to building the communities, the workforce, and economy that North Carolina wants. We appreciate his service to NCPC. Charles?
Thanks, Amy. And on behalf of the Board of Directors for North Carolina Partnership for Children, welcome to the 2021 Smart Start Conference. I don't know about you guys, but I'm about zoomed out, but this is worth coming back one more time to zoom it up and really try to engage and learn. Smart Start, I call it the network. It's a network of 75 partnerships across the state that touches or can touch virtually every child. And it's also part of the leadership that the North Carolina Partnership for Children brings to bear as well. And working together, bringing together teachers, doctors. I'm a lawyer, so I'll put lawyers in there too, but more importantly, parents and the children together to do the things that Amy talked about, because we know for sure that the investment dollar that goes in and your human capital that goes into helping young people pays huge dividends down the road. The other thing about our partnership is the comprehensive nature of it. It allows us to look at policies across the state and to affect things more rapidly than we might do otherwise. When former Governor Hunt set out the vision for Smart Start, it was really about having a public-private partnership. But not only that, but to set out a national model, which we should all be proud of in North Carolina. And it's been that way for a couple of decades now, over a couple of decades. And we have an opportunity and challenge to continue to build on that foundation. But now I want to brag a little bit. It's been a tough year, but it's also been a successful year when I think about the people who've really risen to the challenges. So let me just read off a few stats here. In last year, Smart Start helped to maintain or improve the quality of care at almost 1,100 child care programs serving more than 46,000 children. Invested more than $53.5 million to make North Carolina pre-K successful. Provided salary supplements to more than 4,600 child care professionals. It supported more than 3,000 families through parenting education and home visiting programs. And it provided free books. Those who know me, I'm big on the books and the reading, but books to 273,000 children through Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. Underlying all of that is each day what you do in the local partnerships to reach more children and families. And despite the great work we've done, we still have opportunities to do even more in the future. And the future is very bright. It's bright for North Carolina. It's bright for the children. It's bright for NCPC and Smart Start. As Amy said, those early years not only make a difference for every child, they make a difference for every community in our entire state. So I'm proud of you for being here today, because it means that you are investing yourself into the future of North Carolina. And you're joining us today to learn more throughout the week and looking at the agenda. There are lots of opportunities to learn more, get new ideas, put them to work, and move us forward as a state, as an organization, and to have this bright future for all of us, and especially for our children. So thanks for being here. I hope you have a great week of learning. I hope you have some moments when it's we call them the aha moments. So, I can really do that. I can implement that where I work. I can make what I do better every day. So again, on behalf of the Board of Directors of NCPC, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for being here, and we hope you have a great conference.
Thank you very much, Charles. It's terrific, and we're so glad you could be here today. And now I am very proud to welcome Susan Gale Perry, Chief Deputy Secretary for Opportunity and Wellbeing at the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. I'm sure many of you know Susan well, and at Smart Start, we consider her one of our own. Susan has deep experience in early childhood and has been a force for progressing policies that support children and families. She has extensive experience leading complex early childhood and human services systems and organizations at the local, state, and federal levels, national levels. Her primary work, expertise, and passion have focused on early childhood development and well-being. Prior to coming to North Carolina DHHS, Susan served as Executive Director for the State of Delaware Office of Early Learning, Executive Director for the North Carolina Early Childhood Foundation, Senior Director for Policy and Programs at the North Carolina Partnership for Children, and Deputy Executive Director at Child Care Aware of America. I will add that we have even more reason today to be proud of Susan, as she was selected from all state government officials across the U.S. to testify in front of the bipartisan Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee a couple of weeks ago, sharing the state perspective on the child care crisis. So it is my great pleasure now to welcome Susan.
Well, thank you, Amy, and good morning, everyone. It is so wonderful to be with you. I only wish that I could be with you in person, feeling that rush of excitement as we walked into the Corey Center ballroom and saw 1,000 people sitting there ready to talk about early childhood for a week. I miss that. I miss the energy of being with you all, and look forward to doing that, I hope, next year. I want to talk to you today just very, very briefly and in threes. I've got 3 things I want to offer and 3 lessons learned that I hope point us in direction for the future. And I do want to bring greetings on behalf of Secretary Cohen and Governor Cooper, who are always grateful for the work of Smart Start statewide. And I know you'll be hearing from Governor Cooper in just a minute via a video, so I won't steal his thunder. So let me start by offering 3 things. The first thing I want to offer to all of you is actually my heart and my empathy. As Amy said, this last year plus has been very, very hard on so many of us. So my empathy and my heart to all of those of you who may have lost a family member or a friend or a colleague or a member of your community, to those of you who are in communities who have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, because we know that is true for people of color. The pandemic has certainly shown a spotlight on inequities. So I'm glad this conference is going to focus on that. It's shown a spotlight on inequities, but those are not new, those inequities that we know are the result of structural and institutional racism. And I think we've learned a lot of lessons coming out of COVID about how we need to reshape our focus on equity going forward. So heart and empathy to all of you. And for those of you who haven't lost someone, the year has still been hard. I know that when I go into my closet and put on my work clothes, they don't fit as well as they used to fit. I know that I've had 1 too many glasses of wine on occasion. I know that many of us have suffered from depression, and we've seen our children or our grandchildren really struggle with remote learning over this past year. So it's been a hard year, and I want to acknowledge that. And second, I want to say all my heartfelt gratitude to you. So I want to express sincere gratitude to the Smart Start Network. I was so proud to speak to the United States Senate Health Committee and talk about how North Carolina has managed to hold on to 90% of all of our child care programs are open today. That is dramatically different than in many states. And I know that is the result of the incredible work of all of our partners, including Smart Start, and the Herculean efforts that we've made to really bolster our child care system in the course of this pandemic. I don't want to say there are not still incredible struggles for our child care providers. We know that they've had vacancy rates of as high as 80%. We know they are struggling mightily with attracting and retaining qualified people in their workforce. We know that there's a long road to recover, but we've done tremendous work, and I'm very proud of what North Carolina has accomplished, in large part thanks to all of you. So kudos for that. And then I want to offer a challenge and a hope. My challenge is that even before this pandemic, we have the inequities that we have seen, the challenges that our childcare system has faced, the challenges that families have faced are not new. They are the same challenges that we have known have existed for quite some time. And as we think forward and we start to move towards recovery, we need to be thinking about how are we rebuilding in new ways to address the changing needs of children and families in our state. So my challenge is that we don't miss this moment, that we don't miss this moment of opportunity where we have been galvanized as a state, as communities, as a nation around a pandemic that we haven't seen the like of in 100 years, that we don't miss all of the lessons learned about how much we value essential workers who are the lowest paid people in our nation. And that we take action and that we think about new ways of doing our work. We think about where we need to grow and change. And we're certainly doing that at the Department of Health and Human Services. You may have noticed that my title is now Chief Deputy Secretary for Opportunity and Well-Being. My colleague is the Chief Deputy Secretary for Health. We intentionally reframed our whole department and have created a whole new division of child and family well-being in addition to our division of child development and early education. And the message that we want to convey is that we know that we need to work differently. Moving people around in boxes isn't going to get us there, but it is part of messaging that we want to share about what we're trying to achieve together and what we need to do together. I don't have time to talk a lot about all those changes, but I'd love to come back and talk to you more about the new division of child and family well-being at a later time. So then I want to talk just very briefly about 3 lessons learned and how I think they are relevant to the Smart Start Network and to all of us. And the first thing I will say that we have learned as a department is how much time and energy needs to be spent on building and earning trust. Building and earning trust not to be underestimated, and that means building and earning trust around science, around what government can accomplish, around what nonprofits can accomplish, around what is possible. And you do that with transparent data, with using trusted messengers and leaning into trusted messengers in communities who can carry the messages that we have needed to carry around COVID. So a lot of work around building partnerships, building trust, building trusted messengers, leading with transparency, lessons learned that we're thinking about how we carry forward as we move into recovery. And the second thing I would like to say as a lesson learned for all of us is measure what matters, but don't stop there. Measurement alone is critical to hold ourselves and each other accountable, to build trust with transparent data so that we can show what we're doing and what we're accomplishing and where we still have work to do, and to drive our strategies. But we cannot just sit back and admire inequities. We see that what the data tells us, and I want to share some things that I know are relevant to our Smart Start family right now. We're very concerned about food insecurity in children. We know that North Carolina already had one of the highest states of food insecurity before the pandemic at about 19%. Projected rates during the pandemic and go forward are 26%. We know that at least 1 in 4 families sought food assistance during the pandemic. We know that we have lost huge opportunities to promote children's health and well-being with school closures. Our pre-K enrollment is down 10,000 children this year. There are tens of thousands of children that we've lost from our K-12 system that we just can't find anymore. We don't know where they are. We know that economic security and housing have become exacerbated because of the pandemic, and we know that those have disproportionately impacted people of color and our low-wage earners. So we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work around behavioral health. We have seen an increase in anxiety and depression, with 1 in 3 adults reporting anxiety and depression over this past year. up from 1 in 9 in the first half of 2019. So I say those things to say we have to look at this data and think, what is it telling us about the work that we need to do going forward? And then we have to be willing to take action. Even if we don't have perfect solutions, we need to try and we need to work together quickly. We have tremendous opportunity now with massive new federal investments already in our state, most recently with the American Rescue Plan funds, of which we will have invested $1.65 billion in childcare in total by the end of these federal investments in childcare. And then on the heels of that, we've now seen the American Families Plan introduced that offers tremendous hope and tremendous recognition of how important childcare is, young children and families are to our economic security and well-being. And then lastly, I would say one of the lessons that we learned that I hope as a Smart Start system we can really take going forward is that we have to insist on systemness. And we have to invest in it. And I mean that at the local, the state, and the national level. So I think one of the things this pandemic has taught us, and we see this in emergencies typically, is that we all have a role to play. The federal government had a critical role to play in our pandemic response, our state did, and our local communities did. And I think we all respected and valued the role that each other had to play. And I would say the same is true of our communities. And respect and invest in your systemness and within your communities. And that means we need to pay attention to what things are best suited locally, at the state level, nationally, and by what partners. Maybe there's some things we need to let go of going forward that has gotten in our way and not allowed us to act in the system way that we know is so important. When I testified before the U.S. Senate Help Committee last week, one of the things I talked about, everybody talked about how we needed to invest in our childcare programs and how devastated they were, and that's absolutely true. And some people talked about how much we needed to invest in our childcare workforce, equally true. But I also made sure that I talked about needing to invest in the people and the systems behind the childcare programs and behind the childcare workforce. And that's our Smart Start system and other organizations across our state that are really bolstering our childcare industry and families as we move forward in this pandemic. So we need to continue to think systemness and system focused as we move forward into recovery. And I would just close by saying the stakes are really too high not to go forward and build back stronger. We need to find new ways of doing business with each other, new ways of being in relationship with each other. We have found that online, in Zoom, and in so many other ways. Let's use this, let's seize this opportunity. I am a hopeful person, and I have confidence that together we can go forward and create an even stronger North Carolina by thinking differently and newly together about the way we are in partnership with each other and we support children and families across our state. So I want to thank you all very much. I love Smart Start. I always will hold Smart Start in my heart. I look forward to partnering with you over the course of this next year and know you'll love hearing from Governor Cooper, who feels the same way. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Susan. Those were terrific words and challenges and hopes for the future. And we heed your words to not miss this opportunity to take on some challenges and the crisis that sometimes has felt insurmountable in the past, but the energy is there and the resources. So thank you. And it's finally my pleasure, as Susan mentioned, to share a message with you from Governor Roy Cooper. Governor Cooper is a North Carolina native who has never forgotten his Nash County roots. During the pandemic, he has been a visible leader for our state, using science and data to guide decisions. Governor Cooper is a longtime friend and a supporter of the Smart Start Network and all early childhood efforts. He continues to prioritize the needs of children beginning at birth, supporting investments in health, early childhood, and education. His administration led the creation of the state's early childhood action plan, the ECAP, which sets a bold vision focusing on improving outcomes related to children's health, safety and well-being, and developmental and academic resources. Now we will hear from Governor Cooper.
Hi everybody, Roy Cooper here. I am so proud of the ways that the Smart Start team in North Carolina has stepped up to support children, families, and child care providers over the past year. You've shifted programs online and outside to keep families safe. You've helped families, child care providers, and so much more. Your partnerships with state and local organizations have helped us get more COVID vaccinations into the arms of child care professionals to protect them as they support our frontline families. When we give all children a fair chance for a strong foundation in their first years of life, we put them and all of our communities on the path to a better, healthier future. When I talk to CEOs, they tell me that early childhood education is one of the most important investments that we can make to build a strong workforce. That's why my latest budget proposal invests in our education system from cradle to career. I'm committed to making sure we honor the dedication and hard work of early childhood educators by giving them the support they need and the pay raises they deserve. Since my friend Governor Jim Hunt created Smart Start, you have changed the lives of countless children and their families for the better. Thank you, Amy Cubbage and Charles Bowman, for your leadership and dedication to our children. I look forward to continuing to work with you all as we help North Carolina's next generation of leaders. Have a great conference.
Well, thank you to Governor Cooper. That was terrific. And when I hear my name shouted out like that, I think, my gosh, that's the wrong person. It is all of you terrific folks, both within the Smart Start Network, across the North Carolina Partnership for Children, our state government, Susan at DHHS, our board represented by Charles. Absolutely. We're so grateful to them. All the sponsors, all our presenters as well. So thank you all. And thank you certainly to the governor for those words of inspiration. So thanks again for your attendance, joining us, and for this launch opening session. At 10 a.m., there will be 3 conference workshops for us all to enjoy. If you have any questions at all during your time, the conference staff are available to help. They're posting their contact information in the chat now. And without further ado, we'll say goodbye until the next session, until we Zoom in together again. I hope you enjoy the annual Smart Start Conference as we all work together for a brighter future for our children and families and all who care and educate them. Thank you again for joining us. Bye-bye.